Welcome back for episode 2 from Kim the Dietitian. Last episode was chipping away at fat stores, and if you didn't see it, you may want to go back and watch that one. It might help you also understand this one a little better too. We're going to be talking about the scale and how the scale can definitely play with your head if you're trying to lose weight and you're getting frustrated because of what you see on the scale. Listen up, because I think you'll get some valuable information. I've got some great visuals for you. I think the important thing to keep in mind is that the scale measures what you're putting on it to weigh. So in other words, it's going to measure if you have clothes on, it's going to measure what's in your body in terms of food and beverages and things. And as an example, I got up this morning, weighed myself, and then had a little breakfast, put some clothes on, and what do you know, 5.5 pounds on me. Now that's not 5.5 pounds of fat, and I know that because I know how all this works. And you need to put a lot of extra calories in your body in order to, so to speak, earn an extra 5.5 pounds. I've got several visuals that I want to show you to illustrate that a little further. I have a glass of water here, and this is 16 ounces. This is a pound of water. The glass is going to weigh something, but the water in here is 16 ounces or a pound. So if I were to drink this and then step on the scale, I would expect to weigh a pound more on the scale. Does that mean that I gained a pound of fat? No, it doesn't, because there's 0 calories in this water. So I'm going to show you that. You can't see the scale that's down here, but I'm going to weigh myself. So I have a benchmark for what I'm going to do. Okay, now I know where I am, and if I were to drink this water and step on the scale, I'm just going to hold it, and sure enough, I weigh a little bit more than a pound over what I weighed just a second ago, and that's because of the weight of the glass, that it's not exactly a pound. So obviously no fat increases in my body. I have 2 brownies here. And these are not very big brownies. It wouldn't take a whole lot for most of us to polish these off. And they're very good because I made them myself, so I know. I also know how many calories are in here because I calculated that. And there's 400 calories in the 2 of these together. So if I were to eat these brownies and then step on the scale, and I'm just going to hold them right now, but this scale that I have actually measures to the half pound, and you know that this doesn't even show any increase in my weight as a result of these brownies being in my hand, and that's because these brownies weigh less than half a pound. So I might think, oh, you know, if I tried to make sense of that, I might think that these brownies didn't have any effect on my fat stores, but if I don't burn those 400 calories off, and those are extra calories, those are going to start adding on a little extra fat weight for me. So it's pretty easy to eat those and a lot harder to burn 400 calories off if you've ever looked at one of the machines in a club. Treadmill, for me it would probably take me close to an hour of running on a treadmill to burn off those 2 brownies. Next thing I want to show you, and this I think is a really interesting visual, has a lot of impact. This bowl of tomatoes, this is about 400 calories worth of tomatoes, and I'm telling you, this is really heavy. And if I get on the scale, I'm going to find that it's really heavy. This is 7 pounds of tomatoes, but yet only 400 calories. You'd think relative to the brownies that this was a lot more calories, but it's not, because there's a lot of water in there and just not a lot of high calorie parts to those tomatoes. So what I wanted to show you is just the fact that the scale and what you weigh is not going to be an indication of your fat stores. The scale doesn't know the difference. It's going to weigh whatever it is that you put on the scale, which could be clothing, could be, you know, water that you've got sitting in your body. It could be all sorts of things, and water will fluctuate a lot day to day. So if you're one of those people who weighs yourself frequently, it's really important that you think about what's being measured on that scale and be conscious of what that is. And it might even be better not to weigh yourself every day. That's a question to ask too. If it's playing too much of a trick on your head, you probably want to maybe back off to a once a week or something. But I see this a lot with people that I talk to, and ask yourself the question, are you trying to make sense out of what you're doing with your eating and trying to correlate that with the scale weight that you see? That can get you into trouble if you don't break it down and figure out, okay, does this make sense or not? I'll give you an example. If you step on the scale and let's say it's up a couple pounds from yesterday, you might start thinking, because you hear all the things that we hear in the news, you might start thinking, oh gee, I know that, bread and things, too much of that can make you fat, and carbohydrates, maybe you've heard and been afraid of those, that those are going to make you fat. So I've heard people tell me, well, I put on weight, I was doing everything right, and then I know it was that piece of bread that I had yesterday. Well, we know that a piece of bread has probably about 80 calories, and that isn't what put on the weight. It's much more likely that it's just fluid sitting in your body. So think about that, and hopefully that helps you to make sense out of what you're seeing, and also maybe help you figure out what's a good interval for weighing yourself if you're trying to lose weight, or even if you want to weigh at all. Some people prefer to just kind of watch the way their clothes fit. So a little food for thought, and if you haven't watched the first episode, you may want to go back and watch that. It will also help you understand this a little better, I think. But hope that's been helpful, and I am going to have episode 3. Don't know what it's going to be yet, but I look forward to doing that for you. Thanks for listening.